Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Brz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the new thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
Well, hello again. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rev Z, and we have Reverend Lisa over here with us today. Rev Brz is off taking care of some business, and so we want to welcome her today. Good morning. How are you, dear?
Morning. Good morning. Good to go. Glad to be here.
Yes.
And today.
Yes, and today, if you're not familiar with this program, Ministers Talking Shit, we are here every Friday morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Time, to look at current events and what's going on around the world, and just try to put a spiritual spin on these things so we enjoy life and understand that it is evolving every moment. And I think, obviously, the elephant in the room, so to speak, is the Olympics opens today.
Yeah.
And it promises to be an interesting opening ceremony. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like with no spectators, which sometimes I think that's half the expectation is to go in and see all the people cheering. So what do you think there about that Olympics coming up?
Yeah, I mean it's always an exciting time, and it's amazing to watch these athletes because they are just absolutely out of this world. Their mindset and the way that they operate is, it's really great to see what's possible in a big scheme of it when they compete, And last night I watched a little bit of it. We watched the rowing, and those teams are absolutely amazing to watch. And then here I am cheering, cheering at the TV, and I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I wish, we could be there to cheer them on. And it's definitely I would think it would affect the way that they, maybe not the way that they operate, but I think that energy that makes a big difference, in how that all happens.
And I think, one of the interesting things is, especially being here in Colorado, right down in Colorado Springs, we have the Olympic Training Center. So if almost all, if not all of the athletes that are over there, and I think we have something like 600 plus Olympic from the U.S. team over there, they spent some time down in Colorado Springs.
Right. Yeah, they come to train here. Our high altitude brings a really great training program. It gets them in really good shape.
Yeah. So that's going to be good. And they just opened up a Paralympics museum or Olympic museum, and they're going to be featuring Paralympics starting today, I think it is, with the opening ceremony.
Oh, nice. Okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, and today, for those who are interested, they got, they have a lot of activities going on today. There's badminton. Believe that or not, badminton is an Olympic sport.
Who'd have thought?
Who knew? But men's hockey starts today. Equestrian starts today. Skeet shooting, taekwondo. They have a lot of events, archery, that are starting today. That should be interesting. Should be an interesting. The 2020 Olympics that's happening in 2021 should be very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think one of the bigger issues, of course, is another elephant in the room is the COVID virus during the Olympics.
Yeah, that's definitely going to put some kinks in the program. And it'll be interesting to see what the opening ceremonies look like. I'm really curious tonight to see kind of how that's going to unfold and what that's going to look like. And, how are they going to host everybody and what's it going to look like with all the athletes together? And
yeah, because I heard, I don't know if I believe the news story. I mean, goodness gracious, I heard this story where there are athletes over there that are not vaccinated, and that maybe 100 or so U.S. athletes aren't
crazy.
vaccinated.
Oh my God. Yeah, and I had heard, that you had to be vaccinated to get into the country. So it's interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm thinking that's fake news.
Yeah, somewhere there's some fake news. I don't know what ends come, which end or what, but yeah,
Yes. Because I think they've said there's been at least, I think there's 22 athletes that have publicly had to withdraw. We've had 5 in the U.S. I think there was 6 from Czech Republic and, smattering all over. But because they contracted the virus, they had to withdraw.
I know, and that's so sad to think they've done all this training and prepared and spent the last how many years? Well, at least 4 years or more.
Yeah, at least 4, right? And
yeah.
if they didn't make the last one, it could be 8.
Right. And so, here they are doing all this hard work and preparing and training, and then boom.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting scenario to see, because it starts today. It doesn't end until August 8th.
Okay.
So we got,
so that's
a couple of weeks here.
Weeks
to see how this unfolds and see how how they manage the virus. It'll be interesting to see if they have masks on, and it's going to be interesting to see all that when they walk in tonight.
Right. Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. I'm just so curious at how that's going to unfold, because I don't know. It's just such a different world, as we all know. There's so many unknowns now. You just don't know how they're going to handle it, what's coming up next.
Yeah, that part was interesting. Because, part of the, if you look back over the history of the Olympics, part of that whole thing is the celebrating and exchange of cultures, and
right. And everybody coming together and celebrating as a world, really all the world is coming together, and it's always been such a celebratory type of a thing, and then all that energy in there, and then of course in the past you had all the spectators, and I'm just so curious to see how that's going to unfold without the spectators, and how's that going to affect the energy in the space. And
yeah it's going to be an interesting, because it has always been, all of the athletes from almost all the Olympics have always talked about how much they learned from the individuals from other countries, and given some of the stigma that the countries have had. When they get people to people, they're all the same. They all have the same kind of aspirations and goals to be successful, whatever that is for them.
Mm-hmm. And that's such a great thing. I mean, that's part of what we teach here at New Thought Media Network, is just about the oneness and how we really are divinely connected, all in the big scheme of it all. It's like, oh my gosh, we're all still human beings. We're all still people, just because we look different or do, have different cultures, it doesn't mean that we're not still all one. And we all still have those basic needs and wants, want to be loved, and people that have goal, we all set our goals, and we have all these things that really are in common. So I think that's just a really powerful thing for them to celebrate, and hopefully we'll get to discover still in the midst of all this COVID, and having to change up the rules and everything with how they operate and what they do,
Yeah. And I mean, last week we talked about the Olympics coming, and we talked about the Delta virus, and this week we're talking about the Olympics is here, and now we're going to talk about the percentage of Delta virus cases. Mm-hmm. They're saying something like, I think 90-something%. I heard 93% of the people that are dying from COVID right now are unvaccinated.
Okay.
And that 80-something% of the cases that are coming up are due to the Delta variants.
Oh my
God.
God.
It's like, why can't we just, follow those rules of putting your mask on
just right. Follow the basic principles because it's worked pretty good here so far. I guess I could say, knock on wood, knock on wood.
Yes.
It's like we've had a pretty good success rate, and it's feeling like we're getting sort of back to normal as far as at least here in Colorado. I feel like we're definitely not as many masks on, and people are it's starting to feel a little more normal. I actually went to a Rockies game last week to watch the Dodgers, and that was great fun. It was just so exciting to be there and be around other people. Everybody was so excited. We we're all like, oh my gosh, we're actually here with other people, and we don't have to sit 6 feet apart. And it was
that's key.
I mean, here and got to hang out, and
yeah, and that's key. I mean, because as long as people are kind of pent up, right, there's going to be a hesitancy. There's going to be an apprehension about
people. Yeah, and then there were some people that still had masks on, which I understand, and that's you got to respect people for doing that, and yeah, it's just an interesting experience, this whole thing, and definitely changed the world for forever.
Yes. Well, we will never be the same.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And we are hoping that as we move along, people become, their brothers and their sisters' keepers, so that they take precautions. They encourage others to take precautions to be healthy.
Keep each other safe.
Yeah. And because now, there used to be this thing about, us having this life out of space, right, or in space. Well, and as a lot of this week again, we had another privateer space exploration go off with Jeff Bezos.
There you go.
Blue Origin, and it was a success. They went up and came back down, which is great. I mean, I think it's great. Some people may have different opinions.
So I think it's always great. It just shows the possibility, unlimited possibilities. That's the great news. Like not anybody can go to space, but a regular old guy, a regular American, they got him trained and ready, and up they went. So that's great.
Yeah. And I mean, the most exciting thing for me was to see Wally Funk go up. The 82-year-old who was part of the Mercury 13 program. That Mercury 13 program started in the 60s, and it was code name, if you will, for women in space. Back in 61.
Wow. That's super fantastic.
Oh yeah. And so now she's had that chance to go up.
Yeah. I know what an amazing experience, for anybody, but then, let alone somebody of her age.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. I mean, she's 82 years old.
Wow.
She's still active. She's still feisty.
So got a lot of energy. Yeah. Yeah. You'd have to be prepared to be able to do something like that.
Yeah. When she came back down, she was like, when do we go again?
Oh my gosh, that's really great. It just shows anything's possible, really.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we're looking at. From a spiritual perspective, we look at these issues and things not from a point of hardship or difficulty or controversy. We look at them in hopes of inspiring ourselves and others to think there's always an answer.
Right.
There's always a way to move beyond. There's always a spiritual solution. And that when we are able to do that, life becomes a joy.
Right. I mean, and to know that, I mean, and to remind each other of that there are unlimited possibilities.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how we decide to what we choose, how we operate, what our thoughts are, the way that we think, the way that we act. All that makes a big difference, and sharing that and reminding each other of it is a big part of it. I think, and that's what I love about New Thought Media Network here is that we have all these wonderful programs and different ways for people to express and learn about their spirituality and really looking at all these different, perspectives.
Right. And that's the key. I mean, I was going to save this story for last, and I still may do it for last because I there's another one I want to just touch on. In that, for those of you who haven't, I just saw this morning, so I haven't got that much information on it, but I saw in Mississippi that they're looking to overturn Roe versus Wade.
I know.
They're sending it to the Supreme Court, and they're looking at that, and
wow,
that's going to be an interesting one to follow.
Yeah, definitely. It brings up so much controversy. Everybody has such different opinions about it, and
Yeah, I mean, to take away the rights of someone to make a choice for themselves, and then, okay, we get into the controversy because down that rabbit hole.
It's like, oh no, yeah, that one it's like, okay, I got to do some prayer and just know that there's a higher power operating in that situation, and know that divine wisdom, pray to God it's operating in that whole experience.
Yeah, it's interesting how people want to control other people's lives, whether you think something is right or wrong or within your moral guidance or not.
Mm-hmm.
We know from a new thought, science and mind perspective, there's no action that doesn't have a cause and effect to it.
Right.
So whatever people do, everyone has to live with that reciprocal energy and action that comes with it.
It's coming back. Yeah. Oh, this is great. Gina posted. Hi, Gina. Good morning. Freedom is a birthright.
Yes.
Right on.
And that's, we are free. If we're going to be free, people have to be free to make choices and then live with the results of those choices.
Right.
And so, I may have an opinion and I may give advice, which is worth probably 2 cents. But it's up to each individual to determine whether they want to adhere to that advice or not.
Yep.
And that's going to be the key to this one to follow, this Roe versus Wade, because they're putting it forth in a lot of different states. That same bill,
same issue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's going to be interesting.
So good morning. So if you're used to seeing myself and Robert here, Robert is out today, obviously. And we have Reverend Lisa here with us today, and we are glad that she's here with us. And we're just, as usual, looking at some events and talking about who and what and when, where, and why this world goes round and round and round.
Yeah.
And
it's an adventure.
It is an adventure. It is an adventure. And I have a good news. I wanted to do it at the very last, and this still may be it, but I could not wait to share this. There is a gentleman named Felix Gladson, I think it is how it's pronounced. Greatson, Gretarasson, from Ireland, and he has become the first double arm transplant recipient. Now I'm going to say that again because I'm throw you saying, okay, I don't know what he just said, but that can't be true. There's a guy, Felix, over in Ireland, who was an electrician. He went out in a storm and lost both of his arms due to being shocked.
Yeah.
And he has now become the first recipient of a double arm transplant. And in the article, it says, he has new arms and shoulders, and he's now able to flex his biceps.
So amazing. I mean, I was like, what? Really? For sure? Yeah, that's one of those, amazing things. It's like unlimited possibilities. Who'd have thought,
Yeah.
wouldn't have been possible 5, 10, 15 years ago. But
No.
now we have the ability and the creativity through these doctors and through these people to be able to create that for him.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think about where science has taken us, and that was, that kind of plays back to the Blue Origin and all the, and somebody else is cool. The other guys go. Elon Musk is going up next year in space, right?
Wow.
And we know by doing, there's some experiments and things that they can do in weightlessness to learn certain things that they can't on gravity. But when we look at the ideas and the science of putting another arm from some other human being on another human being, connecting nerves and muscle tissue and bones and tendons, and he can now flex his muscle.
That is a miracle. That Gina says. I like this. Miracles are everywhere. Yes. Yes.
So just think about if you just think about that for a minute, it really is mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is.
To understand how much we've learned about the human body, the nervous system, the brain, because it's not just move your arm, your brain have to tell it. You got to fire the network, and it's
all connected.
It's all connected.
That's the amazing thing. All connected.
which is what we try to highlight here on all these programs on New Thought Media, is the unity of all things, the oneness, the connectedness of all life.
Yeah, and what a great example, like an actual physical example, which is great because sometimes we talk about these principles in mind and in the universe, and they're great. They sound great, but then it's really great to see an example, like an actual tangible that you can see it, you can recognize it and say, oh my gosh, these things anything is possible. I would say with spirit, all things are possible.
Yeah.
Always bring it back to that, and really connect with that energy and say, okay, let me try to look at it from a bigger perspective.
Yeah. And that's an inspiring story.
Yes.
Because especially during this time of COVID, and people are questioning the science.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And if we have the science to give a gentleman 2 arms that work,
right?
I'm thinking that the virus that the vaccine that we've come up with to address the virus, it's going to get better, just like everything else.
Right.
I think, my opinion, and everybody, has their choice. We should get as many people that we know, our family, our friends, our loved ones, and of course we can't force them, but we should be encouraging them to get the vaccine. That the science that we have developed in this country and around the world is stellar. The thing, you just think about what we had from a scientific perspective 30 years ago.
Oh yeah, right. And then really the scientists did have worked together around the world in creating this vaccine and putting this together. So I mean that definitely is something to think about.
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Again, that connection around the world, around the globe, great minds coming together.
And that should be the prototype, if you will, for hunger, for homelessness, for better education, for all these things that we know when we get collaborative work together, you get the results of, because I'm going to go and investigate this story more, because I want to see where the doctors were from and what their specialties were, because we know that there were at least 6 different kinds of, you need somebody that deals with bones and nerves and muscles and
huge,
all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty
so
amazing.
That's going to be, that should be our model
Mm-hmm.
going forward of how we can look at examples of collaboration around the world on serious, breathtaking, if you will, results
Mm-hmm.
that allow us to say, hey, when we work together, things go better.
Definitely.
Things go better.
Yeah.
So just as we start approaching the hour, what are some of your favorite Olympic events you're going to be looking to see here during this Olympics?
Gosh, yeah. It's like I love the rowing. I was watching some of the rowing. I just love that. It's amazing watching these guys. The individuals up to the teams of 4. And I was with a friend last night. We were watching, and we were saying, it's really amazing that they all start together. We're like, again, possibilities. Like we're like, oh, they all start together, but then all of a sudden, one of them will just. We're just shooting ahead. Some of these countries we're like, that's just so amazing because they seem to be all in the same line. And then all of a sudden one will just, and it's, shoot ahead. And we were like, what is the difference between that team versus the other teams? And what is that power within them that is causing them to just shoot on ahead? And it was just kind of we were kind of having a philosophical moment. Like, how does that work? Like they're all doing the same thing, but for some reason, one of them just shoots ahead of the others, and it's just profound. The level of they're just so amazing. The level of the way that they do their thing.
It would be interesting to explore the mental training that each team or each individual does in addition to their physical training,
right?
And kind of gauge how that shows up in the actual event.
And that's exactly what we talked about. And I said to myself, I said out loud, I said, well, you know what? I wonder, and I always think of because China was ahead, and I'm like, well, they have a different way of training. I mean, we just know that from seeing how amazing and in so many sports that they always accelerate. And the way that they practice and all, everything that they do in the behind the scenes to prepare. It's like, well, what's the difference between the way China trains mentally and the U.S.? There's definitely got to be some different things because they just seem to shine. You see them in all these different sports. So I'm really excited to look at, today, seeing these events unfold. And yeah, I'm really excited to just to watch all the different ones and see what my new favorite's going to be. I don't know.
Yeah, because one that I want to look at today is the archery.
Archery's great.
That should be interesting because there is a lot of work and attention to detail that goes on in archery. So that should be good. And so we encourage everyone, although we can't be there in person, please try and support the Olympics just for the humanitarian effort of these individuals and teams coming together to show off their discipline and their ability to work with others and have a good time and be celebrating. So, that brings us almost to the close of this program this morning. I want to thank you, Reverend Lisa, for being here with us, sitting in for Reverend Robert. We would like to have you back with all three of us here. It's a great show. And so to the audience, thank you so much. And go ahead, Reverend Lisa, you got the last word.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. And we just know that the bigger picture, that with God and with that divine source, all things are possible. And that's what we focused on today, was looking at all the different amazing possibilities in the world and how life unfolds and how beautiful it is.
Amen. And so with that, we'll say peace and blessings, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week.
Blessings. Have a good week.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.